In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Good evening, my Lord Bishop Ambrose Gums, Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of the Virgin Islands, to Principal Barry, members of the school board, Governor DeYoung, faculty, staff, family, friends, and most importantly, to the graduates of the class of 2012. Woo-hoo. You know, it is quite an honor for me, quite a privilege for me to stand here before you. And so if you don't mind, I'd love to share a little story because I think it says something about the character of you all as a class that I would like to share with the audience here. I attended the All Saints Cathedral School from kindergarten to 12th grade, and whenever I come home, I tend to crash in on the school just to see old faces like Mrs. Bensky and Mrs. Mark, who I don't see, and classmates or schoolmates who are now teachers, and I just come in, and on this occasion, I came in, and Ms. Barry asked me if I would be present at the chapel, and I was present, and I thought I was just being introduced, and she asked me to say a few words, and you know, I guess she didn't understand what this column does, you know, because we tend to take a microphone and run with it. So I spoke to the class of 2012 and I left. And then the homeroom teacher came to me and said to me that the class of 2012 would like for you to be their commencement speaker. And at that moment, tears came to my eyes because I really appreciated that. Not knowing you, but knowing you because of who we are. I appreciate that you would allow me to share this moment with you. Thank you very much. And it is because of the sentiment that brought this to be that I treat this occasion with the seriousness that it brings and that it exudes. But none of my family is here because my grandfather is away. He's ill, so I'd ask for your prayers. He has to have surgery. But he said to me before I left, Jabril, do not preach a sermon. So I will do my best to not preach a sermon. I know you all have things to do, places to go, and I know that you're not going to hear much of what I say. So I'm going to make it pretty easy to you because I took some time to get to know you. I had some conversations via email with Lanisha. Thank you very much. I perused. Thanks to the internet, I perused some of y'all's Facebook pages, and Lord have mercy. But none of them were too bad, parents. Don't worry. But I perused some of your Facebook pages, and I was pleased to get to know you, just like Kajay said, about the unique characteristics that each of you all bring. And so what I want to talk to you about tonight is getting in the arena. If you remember that, you'll do well. So if you zone out after this, just remember, get in the arena. And what is this arena? We're now talking about the NBA Finals. We're watching the NBA Finals, and we have Chesapeake Energy Arena, where Oklahoma City plays, and we have American Airlines Arena, where the Heat play. And we're talking about these arenas where they are actually on the floor competing. And so when I talk to you about getting into the arena, I'm talking to you about the arena of life and getting into the arena of life and playing the game. Where is this arena? Because this arena is life, this arena is everywhere you are from this point forward. You have been with your parents for this time, and they have nurtured you and brought you to this point, brought you to this place to prepare you for the game of life. And regardless of how difficult that game may be, regardless of how daunting a task that game may be, I wanted to be with you for the specific reason that we are All Saints School and the value of an All Saints education. You know, I came through the days with Mrs. Brady, and so I remember what Mrs. Brady always used to say, and I don't see her, and the column might save me, but what I remember she always would say, you are who you are, and you are All Saints School. school. So I say to you, you are who you are, and you are All Saints School. But what does that mean? And so this is something that we used to understand just kind of inherently. It faded away because we didn't teach it, we didn't pass it on, the value of an All Saints education. So I'm going to pass it on to you. And may it leave you and fill you with something that takes you forward from here. All Saints Cathedral School is a school that came out of All Saints Cathedral Church, clearly, which is a church that was built as a monument to freedom for those who struggled for this people and this land. Out of that spirit came this church, All Saints Cathedral Church, that through the years and through the spirit defending and protecting that freedom, they finally saw fit that they should create a school. And that school, All Saints Cathedral School, has a spiritual charge. If not an overt charge, then certainly a spiritual charge to educate those who would protect, defend, and advance that freedom for which our ancestors struggled. Anisha, you were right to bring up the spirit of the ancestors. And it is the spirit of those ancestors who struggled for the freedom of these people and the freedom of this land that fills All Saints Cathedral School and all who come through it, whether you know it or not. Whether your parents knew it or not, when they enrolled you in All Saints School, they were dedicating you to a higher purpose, to a higher calling, to be those ones who would protect, defend, and advance the freedoms that were struggled for. And so I want to tell you, understanding the value of that education, I want you to remember the Virgin Islands. Because like I say, Virgin Islands for the Virgin Islanders, those at home and those abroad. So it does not matter if you stay here or if you go away to school. It does not matter if you go away to school and eventually come back, or if you go away to school and never return. Remember the Virgin Islands. And remember them because that is the spirit that was imbued in you. That was the spirit that was imparted in you. And because of that spirit, I want to tell you that you are the ones that this territory waits for. You know, it was told to me some years ago, I was a small boy. I was about 9 years old. And I was sitting in one of my grandmother's friend's house. I didn't know her. It's this older lady in her 90s somewhere. And, you know, I was a little ignorant, knucklehead kid. I mean, Miss Bensky can tell you. She knows about the drama that I caused. And I didn't want to be there. I was completely disinterested. I wanted to go play. But as I was sitting there on this one afternoon, her son comes to me. And he says to me, off by myself, 9 years old, he says to me, "You are the one the ancestors were waiting on." Yeah. Yeah. At 9 years old, somebody say that to you with a serious face? Yeah. I went back and I was talking with my mom. You believe this crazy man told me? But you know something? As life went on and as life goes on, you start to see things that happen. And you start to see the places that God has placed you. You start to see the things that happen in your life. And you start to realize the truth of the words that are spoken to you. And so as it was spoken to me, I want to reiterate to you, because of the spirit imbued within you by being a part of All Saints School, you are the ones the territory has been waiting on. So remember the Virgin Islands and get in the arena. Now, I want you to, and close it, because I don't want to keep you long. I promised that I would not preach, and I almost went there, but I pulled myself back. Success. Success. I want to talk to you about one of the favorite little quotes that I had to learn when I pledged the oldest and coldest collegiate fraternity for black men, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We had to learn this quote by President Theodore Roosevelt entitled "The Critic." And that quote is so important and so near and so dear because there will always be critics. Coming from where we're from, I mean, we've already faced it. I'm sure things haven't changed that much. I'm sure you still get flack from our public school friends about going to all things. People will say things. And when you leave here, it's not going to change. People will say things. I heard egregious things when I first went to Delaware. They asked me if we wore grass skirts. They talked about banana boats. They asked us if we had to swim here. They ask you all kinds of ignorant things, and they will say all kinds of things about you. But like Jay-Z said on the Blueprint Volume 3 in So Ambitious, my motivation for me is them telling me what I could not be. Let that be your motivation. Because as we see now, just like they're giving LeBron flack, just like no matter what he does, he scores 30 and 10 a night, they're going to give him flack. If he doesn't make the last shot, they're going to give him flack. If he makes the last shot, they're going to give him flack. So let that be an example for you. When you leave here, you will face the criticism. But as Theodore Roosevelt said in his quote, I say to you, it is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbled or how the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Get in the arena. Play the game. Remember who you are. You are who you are, and you are All Saints School. Get into the arena and play the game. And when you win, as you win, remember the Virgin Islands, for you are the ones the territory are waiting on. Thank you.